everybody. Welcome to another episode of the show. It's your girl, your host, Natasha Molina, and I'm so excited to be introducing you all to Tanairi Vazquez, who is a seasoned Broadway star, actress, dancer. I mean, she does it all. Tanairi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be finally meet you in person. Well, not in person, through Zoom,
Yes.
to see your face and have a chat, a fun little chat. Yeah.
No, likewise. I'm so excited. Those of you at home, you don't know this, but this has been in the making for quite some time. And we're so excited to finally be sitting down with each other to talk about your recent projects and also equally exciting upcoming projects. But before we get into all of that, I do want to get to know your background a little bit more. And I want the audience at home who have seen your face on the big screen to also get to know a little bit more about how you've been on this crazy journey, because you have a pretty long trajectory. But we do know that
Yeah.
you've been dancing since about 7 years old, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. 6,
Okay,
7. Yeah.
perfect. So, at what point did you know that you wanted to be, whether it was a Broadway star, an actress, and just be in the world of entertainment?
So I took my very first dance class at the age of 6. My mother, so I had this babysitter. First off, let me go back. I had this babysitter who was Puerto Rican. I'm also Puerto Rican. And she always played salsa music when I was a little girl. And I was always just running around dancing, shaking my little hips. And she would always say, Carmen, you have to take your daughter to a dance class. Just take her because she will not stop moving. And so finally, my mom took me to a dance class, and I after that first class, it was like there was no question. There was no doubt. I was like, no, I want to continue to dance. Like, this is what I want to do. And my parents supported me, since I was 6 years old. They made a lot of sacrifices for me to take dance classes, and to eventually I did like competitions growing up as well. I did a lot of like solo pieces and like group numbers, and um they were just always very supportive, and that's one thing I must say that helped me be where I am today. They worked very hard. There was a point where they cleaned the dance studios for me to in exchange for like free classes, because my dance teacher was like, this little girl, like, she has so much potential, you know and yeah, so that's number one, like my support system, my parents. I started going to see a lot of performances when I was a little girl, like musical theater shows, companies that came to the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. I was born and raised in Virginia, so random. But the Performing Arts Center, they always brought, Broadway shows, dance companies from New York City, like Alvin Ailey, Ballet Hispanico. So I was, intrigued at such a young age, and I was inspired. So I continued with that. I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, Performing Arts High School in Washington, D.C. That's where I kind of like found my, like, truly my purpose as an artist, being surrounded by young, and aspiring artists like me was so, it helped me even more, just like push and strive to dance as a professional. And as we know, that's not easy. And a lot of people also don't take it as serious. But going to that school, it helped me, even more be like, okay, I'm going to move to New York City and I'm going to be a professional dancer. That was like my first passion, a dancer. Like, I started just dancing. I took ballet, modern, jazz, hip hop, gymnastics, you name it, African. So I graduated from Duke Ellington. Then I went to SUNY Purchase College in White Plains, New York. And that's where I furthered my studies as a dance major. I continued, and that was a hard program. It was like, you took your academics in the mornings, and then you had dance rehearsals. You took ballet, modern, dance history class. I had to choreograph. So I was continuing to expand myself as a dancer and an artist. And then I went to an open call, a random open call in New York City. I took the train in from White Plains, and it was for West Side Story International European Tour. And my best friend, Tori Cole, she was like my agent. She was always like checking online for auditions. She was also a dancer. And she was like, Tanari, you have to go to this audition, West Side Story.
What
And
an amazing friend, first of all. Let me say, I'm
oh my
sorry. She's
God,
incredible for that.
till this day, she's like one of my closest friends. She's
Wow.
everything. So I
That's
owe her a lot, like, you know.
That's
Um,
amazing because West Side Story, I think I have seen a few interviews of yours and you literally said it's your heart and your soul and it always has been. And I love that for you because as you're saying right now, you went to this open call, you got to be a part of this incredible story, this incredible production, West Side Story live. And
yeah.
then years later, as many know, you played a part on West Side Story by the adaptation of Steven Spielberg, which is, I mean, a dream come true. I can only
The dream.
imagine. What
Full
was that
circle.
transition like from going to being like, live performing it to performing it on the big screen?
I mean, we started rehearsals for the film like maybe 2, 3 months before shooting. So, it was the same process. You're in a studio, you're creating movement. And what was cool about this version was it was all new original choreography by Justin Peck. The original musical, like the Broadway version, it's choreographed by Jerome Robbins. So that was the only choreography I knew of West Side Story. And I've done West Side Story so many times. And so, introducing this new choreographer, Justin Peck, who's absolutely amazing. That was a little shift, but his movement was it was still in the same storyline of West Side Story. Like it still had that flavor. It still had that like freedom and like power beneath the movement, especially in America. Like for the women, like we felt so empowered and strong and just free doing that movement. So, we were in rehearsals. Steven Spielberg would come, watch rehearsal. He'd like, with his iPhone, like kind of getting ideas of like shots, what kind of shots he wanted to take of these huge numbers. So that was really cool. And then working with Tony Kushner, who was the writer, he's also another legend in film and theater. So I was just like, I can't believe I'm this new generation's shark girl, because I watched the movie of when Rita Moreno did it. And that's also what inspired me to be a professional dancer, because I was like, look at like, wow, like my parents were like, look at her, she's Puerto Rican and she's a movie star and she's a dancer and she's acting and she's singing. And like for me, Rita Moreno reminds me of like my family, like my mom, for instance. Like she has that fire, she has that independence, so. And then also Rita was in this version, the film. So, she's what, 90 years old now. It was just like this woman was in the movie that was in 1957 to now, even though it was a different role for her, but to like meet her and to see her work, I was just like, this was the woman that literally inspired me to chase my dreams, to follow her footsteps. So that whole experience was beyond, dancing in the streets of New York City during the summer of 2019. It was like hot. It was like in the 90s at one point, but we were so ecstatic and just like full of so much energy. And Steven loved working with such a young cast as well. Like he was like, just so happy to be on set. He knew everybody's names. He would like come and talk to you like como si nada, like, you know what I mean? We would just be like, literally, Steven Spielberg
Starstruck.
knows who I am. He knows who I am. And he took such a huge chance on all of us, because a lot of us are, working theater actors. We've been on Broadway, but we don't really necessarily have a huge name for what, to be in this industry, unfortunately, you got to have like a certain following or, you know, whatever that is. But he really wanted to make it as pure and as authentic. You know, there were a lot of us Latinos in there. You know, there were a couple dancers from Puerto Rico that they actually went to Puerto Rico, had auditions in Puerto Rico and Miami, here in New York, LA, you know, so he really digged and wanted it to be as authentic as possible. And I think he did a great job. And, you know, we had a blast. It was just like one of the best experiences I'll ever have, I think, in my career. So yeah, just crazy.
Incredible. That's incredible. I do love and respect so much the authenticity of the film and everything he did, all of you and the cast who made it as incredible as it is. And honestly, it just being the 360 full circle moment that it has been for you. Like you were saying how Rita Moreno was, you know, that little inspiration for you. And now thinking about it, it's like whether you see it or not, you are literally that for, you know, the next generation or even the generation who's currently trying to make it as well.
Uh-huh.
You're, you know, you're representing Puerto Ricanas, Latinas in general, and we're looking to you and we're so proud. I just have to say that I have to let
Oh,
you know that.
thank you. Thank you. That
Of
means so much. That means so much.
No, of course. We are rooting for you and everything you do. West Side Story was an incredible film. So many people loved it. Obviously, there was so much talk about it. It was going viral when it came out. And it's still
Mm.
something that, you know, we hold near and dear to our hearts. Obviously, going back to the fact that Broadway has been such a huge part of your life and career. And this was shot, I believe, right, or some of the scenes were shot right before we went into the pandemic,
Oh,
which was
yes.
something very crazy. It was very hard for creators, artists, things like that.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that with you because
Sure.
Broadway was shut down for a really long time. How did
Yeah.
this affect you and your community?
Oh, it affected our community, I think, like the most. You know, when they announced the pandemic, they were like, okay, Broadway's shutting down for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And we're like, okay, we can take a little break, you know, nothing, that's not too bad. That's a little vacation. I was even like, oh, maybe I can go to Puerto Rico because my parents live there now. And then they kept extending the date, pushing it further back and back. And I was like, okay, I'm here in New York City. I'm not doing anything. So I decided to just go to Puerto Rico. I bought a flight. My flight at that time, I think it was like $20, mind you. Like one way was just $20. It was insane. And me fui, and you know, I had never lived in Puerto Rico. I had always gone to visit family. All my family's there. Like during the summer, my parents would send me to Puerto Rico so I could be with my cousins and stuff like that. But I never got a chance to like live on the island. So I was there for about 2.5 months. And it was great. I was with family. I had the beach, you know, I would walk to the beach, go to the beach, enjoy my time. Then eventually some opportunities started coming up, like auditions were still happening, but more for like TV, film, commercials. So I auditioned for this Super Bowl national commercial for
Yes, yes.
Squarespace. Yes.
I
And
know this commercial and I love it. I love it. I did want to
yay.
talk about this because this is
Oh,
one of
amazing.
the most amazing collaborations projects that I feel like you've done because it is tied with Dolly Parton. Who doesn't know Dolly Parton?
Who
So
doesn't know
featured in the commercial is not her song 9 to 5, but instead it is 5 to 9. A little fun play on words to, you know, talk about today's day and age with Squarespace, being able to own your own website and being able to have your own business. And in the midst of it is you completely killing this amazing role, dancing as a Latina to this amazing classic of Dolly Parton. So how was that for you too?
It was that, I mean, that was my first job since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, hold up. I just booked a national commercial. I
Super Bowl
was like,
commercial.
hey, amazing. Okay, I'll take it. So they flew. So the commercial was shot in Nashville. because that's where she's from, that's where she lives. But there's a twist to it because I get there, I have a fitting, and they're like, so Dolly Parton's not going to be, like, she wasn't physically there with us. She just did a little cameo, but she was supposed to be like the lead of the commercial. And so they were like, surprise, like you're gonna be like the hero of the commercial. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like what do you mean? They're like, no, you're gonna be the lead of this commercial. And I was like, what? Like, y'all are gonna tell me this now? Like, oh my God. So it took me a day. Thank God the next day I was off to like process and
Prepare.
prepare, because I was like, I don't know what to expect really. The only thing was Justin Peck, the choreographer from West Side Story, choreographed this commercial as well. So it was nice to know him. There were a couple dancers that I knew from New York City as well. So that helps the process. And uh we started rehearsals. I think we had rehearsals for like 2-3 days, and then we started shooting. And the director of the commercial, I don't know if you know him, Damien Chazelle, he directed La La Land. So he's like a huge director that I have been following. And like, so it was just like I had to be prepared because, we showed him the choreography, Justin's ideas or whatever. And then he came in and he was like, all right, well, we need to change this. We need to like, and I was like, oh my God, I have to be like on my toes. But I was prepared. I was as confident as I could.
You killed that commercial. That
Thank
was
you.
amazing, especially, to know within a few hours that you were going to be the lead and then have to completely, change up everything and mentally prepare for that. You killed it. Tanairi, you did amazing. And I want to put
Thank
an emphasis on the fact that, I kind of hate that we have to keep on saying it, but like you doing it as a Latina is so important because unfortunately it's a really big deal because it's only been in the recent years that more Latinos have been getting opportunities like this. But before there wasn't as much representation. So I do think it's very important to have to put an emphasis on the you are doing this, killing it as yourself,
you.
but also you are Latina and you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's one thing that's so important to me is representation. My parents, since I was a little girl, even though I was born and raised in Virginia,
Yeah.
they were like, you're going to know about your background. You're going to go to Puerto Rico during the summer. They spoke to me in Spanish, English. So that's how I speak, very Spanglish. They taught me the importance of that at a very young age. And everyone that knows me knows that I'm proud to be Boricua. Like everybody on Broadway, everyone knows. Like I wear. I mean, this is my. I don't know if you can see it, but it's my
I
dad.
could. It's
Um,
beautiful.
the flag, the Puerto Rican flag, and yeah, it's just so important. And
Yeah.
we need it. We need it. It's getting better, but
We
we
still
still
have
have
a lot
a
of work to
long way to
do,
go.
but we're doing it. Actually, that brings me to the next topic that I definitely want to discuss with you, and that's the fact that you are working on a project called Nochebuena. And what's so exciting about, well, I mean, there are many exciting things about this for me. I'm a huge fan of rom-coms, and it is going to be a romantic comedy. It's
Yes.
titled Nochebuena. That is my birthday. And
Oh
then
my God.
also, it is an all Latino cast and crew. That is my favorite part about this entire project. It's all Latino. So I want you to tell us what you could, because I know that you're still
Yeah,
working
I
on
can't
the
tell you.
project, so it's a little bit top secret, but tell us what you're able to.
So yes, I'm so excited to start this new film. It's a feature film. It's an all Latinx cast, and it centers around these three best friends. They, grew up together, went to high school together. It's me, Jennifer. I play the role of Jennifer, and then there's Junior and Melissa. And Junior is kind of like, we're best friends, but we all come back to my house for Nochebuena. It's been 10 years since we've seen each other. And there's it's kind of like a second chance of first love kind of vibes. And as you know, in our culture, Nochebuena is like a huge night where, I feel like it's bigger
More
than,
important than the actual Christmas day for
yeah.
us. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
that's our
there's
version.
poquito, there's the food that we make, the traditions, the parrandas. And it's, yeah, these best friends, they see each other again. They've moved on with their lives, but Junior and Jennifer kind of have some, unfinished feelings, and they arise. And, I have been in a relationship with someone for 4 years already, and it's a whole thing, but it's beautifully written. I connected with the script right away. Jennifer is literally me, like the way I speak, the Spanglish, there's a little Spanglish, there's Spanish. Uh, so yeah, and I think it's a sweet story. It's grounded. It's, about love, about traditions, in our culture, and the beauty of friendship too, and family, especially during that Christmas time, Nochebuena. And it's really funny. Melissa, one of my best friends, she's hilarious. Like, she's that friend, you have that best friend who's just crazy and says the craziest things, and you're like, girl, what? Like, what? Okay. So like, our relationship is really cool, and Junior and I just have that instant love and like care for each other. But I think Jennifer realizes later that, oh my God, like, I love him.
Mhm.
I love him a little more than just a friend. So I'm really excited. There are actors from LA, who are working actors, and they're flying people from LA, Atlanta, and some Florida people too that will be working on the film. So I'm just excited. I'm excited. It's a low budget film, but it's going to be made with a lot of love, and hopefully, it gets picked up, or these film festivals coming up,
Yes.
it'll be, featured there. And but it's also my first like big role, as a lead. So I'm very excited, but also very nervous. But I just know once we get on set, once we start working, because we just did like a reading through Zoom, like we
You
haven't
guys
even met.
haven't actually connected and met in person yet. Wow,
No.
that's gonna be so fun.
So like, I've been rehearsing with the actor who's going to be playing Junior through Zoom. He's in LA, so we've been like trying to schedule times to just like read the scenes, get to know each other, familiarize each other, cuz it's like, once we get going, it's going to be a roller coaster and long hours. But yeah, there's definitely some good vibes. So
But you guys are going to do it with love, as you said. It's a really important and beautiful story that you're going to be telling, something that has to be told. I love that, other than, obviously the love and the romance part of it, you guys are also putting an emphasis on family and friendship, which is something super important to put, that value on. So I can't wait for all of us to be able to see it. I'm definitely excited for this film. I can't wait. But I know you're going to kill it. I know the rest of the cast is going to kill it as well, as you always do, Tanairi.
thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
But going along with the theme of Noche Buena, I do want to ask, what is your favorite, whether it's just a holiday tradition or specifically a Christmas tradition?
Oof.
I know it's so hard. There's so many to pick
So
from.
hard. I mean, I think, yeah, Christmas Eve is like my favorite. My mom always makes some arroz con dulce, and it's so good. And she makes like little containers for the family, and
Mm.
you know, um, and also la parrandas, like especially in Puerto Rico. Like, I remember, spending a couple Christmases there, and just like, being at my aunt's house, and then random people just coming singing, and then you join. And then if you want, you can continue and go to the next person's house, like, the neighbors. And yeah, I think that for me is like such a special time. and the food, you know, like arroz con
El
gandules,
coquito.
el coquito. I make coquito. So I actually, funny story, I used to make when I was in Hamilton, I started like selling it.
Mhm.
So that was really cool, especially during the holiday, because you know, when I was on Broadway, the schedule is very hectic. Like you do 8 shows a week, and then when the holidays hit, it's like they give you Christmas Day off, but then you have to, you know, the show that you miss, you have to make up. So then they add it to the schedule. So I didn't, for a couple of years, I didn't really get to spend the holidays with my family, which was so hard. It was so hard. And that's one thing that the pandemic allowed me to do is I was like, oh my God, I actually have like a winter break, you know, like I can spend time with my family, help my mom put the decorations on the tree and like, so yeah, I think Christmas Eve for me is like, that's
Nothing
it.
else beats it.
There's
I
no,
definitely agree with you there. There's no experience like it. Especially, I mean, I'm Ecuadorian, so I haven't experienced a Puerto Rican Navidad or Nochebuena. That sounds like a completely different vibe, and I all of a sudden feel like I have not done Christmas right. So
right.
I'm definitely gonna have to go to Puerto Rico one year and spend Christmas
Yes,
over
girl.
there.
Oh, it's a blast.
Before you go, I want to give you the floor to just say a quick message to any of your fans or just people who are trying to make it in the acting business as well.
Yes. You know, continue to invest in yourself. If there's something that you're passionate about, go for it. You know, I think everyone in this world has a purpose. You know what I mean? So just go for it and keep yourself updated, you know, put work in yourself because that's where everything comes from. And just be proud of where you're from, where, you know, always carry that with you. And there's so much information out in the world, you know, like YouTube, you know, that you can just go and teach yourself. You know, there's a lot of artists now that are self-taught. But yeah, keep going, surround yourself with people that love what you love to do. That always helps. And never stop investing in yourself. I think that's like number one, you know, and it, whatever that is, whatever, you know, if it's health, you know, career, um, yeah, I think that's what I would say. Yep.
I think that's an important message and reminder because sometimes it's easy to like know that, but we always need to hear it again, especially from somebody else. So thank you for that amazing message for all of our audience, 990. That's amazing. Thank you for joining us today on the show.
Thank you.